Hey, this A2 hosting review is from John, and I wanted to talk about A2 hosting in this review as far as their speed. They claim to be 20 times faster than any other hosting provider. So, is that reality or is that hype? Um, what I did is I went and found a bunch of different websites that have done their own independent testing with various different hosting providers. Obviously, A2 hosting is included in that. And so I wanted to go over these with you so we could try to figure out is A2 really as fast as they say they are or not. So in full disclosure, I am an A2 hosting user and fan. I have two different A2 hosting plans. They're both shared hosting and they're the Swift plan using Linux with A2. So I'm going to be skewed in that I like A2 a lot, but I think when we go through these speed test results, you're going to see why. One of the most important things for any website is it has to have fast page loading. Google recommends that a page load in under 200 milliseconds. We know that the longer it takes for a page to load, it's going to be much more likely for people to leave your site and go find someplace else. And I'm sure you've experienced that yourself. No one wants to sit there and wait for a page to load. You want to get your information, you want to see it, you want to move on. So this first site we're on, this site I like a lot. They went out and bought at least 31 different hosting provider plans, A2 hosting being one of them. And then they ranked them all based on several different factors, speed being one. But in a lot of these reviews, you also see where they talk about uptime, security, support, pricing, etc. In this video, we're only talking about speed. How fast is A2 just as a provider, and then also how does it compare to others? So they make a pretty bold claim right off the bat here. They say A2 hosting is the fastest shared hosting provider that they've ever tested. So again, they rank A2 8th out of 31 total providers they tested, but clearly first in speed. Now again, I'm biased. Some of the things they ding A2 on, whether they felt like support was a little limited or pricing was maybe a little higher, I think their pricing is very fair. It's very competitive. Can you get cheaper shared hosting? Yes. And you will also get cheaper speed. you get less when you pay for it. It is a website hosting is kind of a you get what you pay for type of thing. But anyway, we're talking about speed. So again, the 20 times faster claim, you'll see that everywhere. And what they talk about is, you need to ideally load under a second because otherwise you're going to lose. You can lose 50% of your traffic if it's taking 3 seconds or longer to load. So the bottom line, A2 page loading speed an average of 376 milliseconds. So about 1/3 of a second. And that was consistent over 10 months. And it was the best of any web host that they reviewed. And it was 50% or better than the industry average of 890. So here you can see the last 10 months. And actually, if you go through and click to their specific, you can see month by month. And so, I'm making this video March 2nd, 2019, and you can see their uptime and their speed. And you can see their speed has actually gotten even faster over these past 4 months than it had been. So it was already very fast, and now the average speed is getting even faster. So let's look at a couple other sites that did some testing. Again, this site, they talk about, speed is the name of the game for A2, and is also obviously important to us. And so that's what they focused on doing their review. Now, they did use their A2's turbo plan. That's the plan that claims to be 20 times faster. Their middle plan, which is their Swift plan, which is the one I use, is about 6 times faster. Now, what they did for their test is they used the turbo account. They uploaded just the basic WordPress and the basic theme, and they did it with the turbo caching enabled. And you can see the blue line is the speed, the page load speed, and then the green is as they basically had visitors coming to the site. There are what they call a load, simulating visitors coming to the site. So the cool thing is you can see the page speed stayed very, very steady even as more and more and more and more visitors were being loaded onto the site. So that's pretty cool. You can see it had an average, or the slowest was 257 milliseconds and the fastest 233. And what they say in their testing, comparing to other hosts, that they were at least A2 was at least twice as fast as the other hosts that they compared them to. So very cool. Here's another site that did some A2 hosting. Again, they just come right out and say, hey, boom, A2 hosting is fast. In their testing, overall uptime 100%, server performance an A+. The response time from the west part of the United States, 86 milliseconds. London, 104. Japan, 179. That's fast, okay? I love how they explain it. You know, just the time it takes for you to blink your eyes is around 400 milliseconds. And so what they're saying is, again, Google recommends about 200 milliseconds. And so they tested, and here were the results. Now, obviously, you know, some were a little higher, depending on, you know, the distance the data had to travel. Sydney, Australia, Sao Paulo, Brazil. But average 176.1, so under the 200. And again, in this test as well, using a different data center. This was from the Singapore data center. This is from the Michigan data center, but very similar speeds. So again, the speed is there, no doubt about that. A2 can definitely live up to its claims. Here's another site that did their own independent testing again on this different web hosting provider speed, and here's the results for A2. Now they use a little different measure. They use this TTFB, or time to first byte. The time to get the first byte of information should be below 550 ideally, and it was 545 here, 538 here. And then they use a different method with an A rating for the speed from A2. And they did a couple years apart. So this was a 2016 test, and this was a 2018 test, but both very fast. And part of that's because they have this A2 optimized WordPress installation and plugin, and that really helps guarantee the speed, as well as they use full SSD, solid state drives. So they're not using regular hard drives, but the solid state drives, and they give enough RAM and fast CPU cores to make it happen. Here's another site that did some independent testing, and again they talk about the solid state drives, which is part of what makes it so fast. They did use the turbo feature in their testing, and here were the page speed tests with Pingdom. Now I should say, different. You can test speed in different ways. You can use different methods. So obviously it's a little hard to make a direct apple-to-apple comparison when you look at these different speed tests. But I think what you see across the board is A2 is very fast, even though maybe these different review sites are using different methodology. It's very fast. Now, interestingly, when they use Pingdom, Melbourne actually had a kind of slow response, 2.24 seconds. New York was quite a bit faster. Stockholm quite a bit faster. But then when they did a load impact test, again, very impressive. Now, this one, the blue line is they're adding more and more and more and more visitors to the site, and you can see the page speed actually got a little faster, even as more visitors were added. And you can see there's minimum fastest response 230, the slowest 289 milliseconds. So again, pretty quick. This is another one. Here they looked at performance results from 14 different locations. So you can see the locations over here, and essentially you can see the time here. And again, very quick. Several, a couple under, one under 100, a lot of them under 200, and then the rest kind of just over 200. But again, very quick results. Here they also did a load test, so the speed, for some reason, had a blip here, but then you can see it, the speed, stayed again very consistent, even as the visitor count to the site went up. So the great thing, again, in my mind, one of the things I really love about A2 hosting, again, is the speed. Very fast. Again, we just looked at 6 different independent websites websites that did their own independent testing on different hosting providers. For speed, A2, comes down, number one with great results across the board. So if you're thinking about A2 hosting, and if you want a hosting plan that is going to be fast, that you're not going to lose visitors off your site because of speed problems, and I think you definitely are going to want to look at A2 hosting. You can check the link below the video to get some more information, to see pricing, and definitely let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much for watching this A2 hosting review, looking at their speed claims, hype or reality, and definitely their speed claims are reality.